Rabbi Adam Shalom will offer his insights on Humanistic Judaism's rich history. Before I pass the mic, I want to share a little about Rabbi Shalom, who's the Dean for North America of the International Institute for Secular Humanistic Judaism, where I went to rabbinical school, as well as the rabbi of Kol Hadash Humanistic Congregation in suburban Chicago. He's an incredibly smart and knowledgeable person, an intellectual leader in the humanistic Jewish movement, and a teacher and mentor from whom I've learned so much. His students, his colleagues, and his congregants all benefit from his generosity. He's generous with his time, his support, and his advice. We appreciate, too, that his ideas, like well-blended wine, always come well mixed with humor. Without further ado, here's Rabbi Adam Shalom with To Life, Hope, and Strength, a brief history of humanistic Judaism.
Thank you, Eva. I feel like a bar mitzvah boy all over again. One Tuesday morning, the golden phone on the desk of the chief rabbi of the state of Israel rings for the first time. It has never rung before. And with a shaking hand, the rabbi reaches forward to answer it. This is supposed to be the direct line to heaven. When he picks up the phone, a voice on the other end says, "Rabbi, I have good news and I have bad news. Which would you like first?" The rabbi says, "Baruch Hashem, blessed is God, this is a wonderful day. Please give me the good news." The voice says, "I have decided that for once and for all Jews everywhere in the world should believe the same things, should live the same values, should be part of one Jewish identity." The rabbi responds, "This is the most wonderful news we've ever received. What could possibly be the bad news?" "I'm calling from Or Emet, the Minnesota Congregation for Humanistic Judaism." Who was the first humanistic Jew? Well, consider a similar question. Who was the first human being? Now, we are not creationists. We don't believe in an original Adam who was formed from the dust of the ground. When we sing or we say Adam in a blessing or in Hebrew, we're referring to humanity, not my predecessor. So when we're talking about the origins of humanistic Judaism, we should stop telling the story of Rabbi Sherwin Wine creating humanistic Judaism from the dust of the ground and breathing life into it. Or the other version of the story that he met with 8 families in a living room in Birmingham in 1963, and they gave birth to humanistic Judaism just like we do it today. It's not true. The real history is the first meeting was 16 families, and 8 families were not interested in what he wanted to do. The congregation started as a Reformed congregation. A little unconventional, but still a Reformed congregation, and it evolved into humanistic Judaism over several months. It took much later for them to come up with the innovative idea of letting a bar mitzvah student choose their own subject for their presentation. It took even longer for them to add this newfangled thing called bat mitzvah for girls, which they didn't have in their first decades. Living things evolve. They change over time, and so too with humanistic Judaism. Now, of course, Rabbi Sherwin Wine, who was my rabbi growing up, and that founding process was very important. But we also recognize that there were forerunners, evolutionary ancestors, as well as contemporary collaborators in its growth and the future heirs of that identity. And the future heirs, of course, include those who grew up in humanistic Judaism, like Rabbi Cohen and myself, and those who have found it since the 1960s. I would guess most of you have found it since the 1960s and not in the 1960s. We have maintained one humanistic Jewish tradition throughout our entire existence: the importance of cliché rabbi names. Rabbi Wine, Rabbi Shalom, Rabbi Cohen, If anyone ever questions how you're doing Judaism, you just have to respond, do you have a Rabbi Cohen? I want to share with you two origin sources of humanistic Judaism. The first is the individual human mind, the desire to question, to challenge, to ask, why? Why does this happen? Why are we doing this? And is there another way to do it, perhaps? I want to read to you a few lines from a poem by Marge Piercy entitled Applesauce for Eve. In this case, she's not talking about this Eva. She's talking about that original progenitor idea, that myth. But when she looks back at that story, she does not see Eve as a naive fool who was duped by a snake. She sees Eve as a courageous pioneer who wanted to know. I want to read to you the first and last stanzas of that poem. Those old daddies cursed you and us in you, damned for your curiosity, for your sin was wanting knowledge, to try, to taste, to take into the body, into the brain, and turn each thing, each sign, each factoid round and round, as new facets glint and white fractures into colors, and the image breaks into crystal fragments that pierce the nerves while the brain casts the chips into patterns. You indeed are the mother of invention, the first scientist. Your name means life, finite, dynamic, swimming against the current of time, tasting, testing, eating knowledge like any other nutrient. We are all the children of your bright hunger. We are all products of that first experiment, for if death was the worm in that apple, the seeds were freedom and the flowering of choice. In the Hebrew Bible, Abraham bargains with God. Moses serves as God's anger management therapist when he wants to wipe out the people after the golden calf. Job and Ecclesiastes question divine justice given, well, the world and how it works. The book of Esther and the book of the Song of Songs celebrate life and courage without any divine figure at all. Deuteronomy chapter 8 warns the Hebrews to never say, quote, my own power and the might of my own hand have won this treasure, this good life for me. Now, if the Bible says don't do it, that probably means that some people were doing it. And so if it says don't say that you did this yourself, some people were willing to say that. In fact, if we adjusted it a bit and we said our power and the might of our hands created all this goodness, that would be a good bumper sticker for us. What they said not to say, we celebrate. That Jewish rebellious streak appears again and again throughout Jewish history. In the 2nd century, a rebel rabbi named Elisha ben Avuya asked that same question of divine justice. In the 9th century, Chiwi al-Balkhi began to question, did Moses really write the Torah? Are the stories in the Bible believable? He was so well known that the preeminent rabbi of his day, Sadia Gaon, had to write a rebuttal. Sadly, we don't have Chiwi's book, but we have the rebuttal, so it lets us know what he was saying. And of course, famously in the 17th century, Baruch Spinoza also stuck a finger in the eye of tradition. And today, we have to say, most Jews fit in that category of challenging tradition. In 2020, the Pew Research Center conducted a study of American Jews. They found that 75% of American Jews do not believe in the God of the Bible, compared to 56% of all Americans who do believe in the God of the Bible. And 22% of American Jews, when they were given a choice of, do you believe in the God of the Bible? Do you believe in a higher power or spiritual force, or do you not believe in any of that? 22%, fully a fifth of American Jews, do not believe even in the higher power or spiritual force. They do not believe in those things. They do believe, but in something else. And the general U.S. population, only 10% are willing to say they don't believe in that way. And so that vast majority of American Jews are, if not fully humanistic Jews, at least humanistic. So that's the first origin source, the human mind, the willingness to question. But the second origin source is the next step. Not only the human mind, but human hands. that can be inventive, creative, that can work together, that can comfort each other. People sometimes think that Judaism existed through history in a bubble, largely unchanged through centuries of tradition and transmission in one universal and core Jewish culture that was always the same. Tradition, right? But I have a secret for you. Fiddler on the Roof is not a documentary. And the musical is actually about the evolution of tradition. It's how tradition has to change in the modern world. And how many of us would like to live in a world with arranged marriages and defined gender roles and Papa's in charge, except he's not really in charge? We don't need that world anymore. The truth is that Judaism has always evolved. The speed accelerated with the Enlightenment, with the scientific and industrial revolution, with the experience of emancipation and personal freedom to make our own choices. Over 200 years ago, modernizing Jews from Hamburg, Germany to Charleston, South Carolina began changing Jewish prayers and practices to match their values and their lifestyle. 125 years ago, there were already hundreds of Jewish thinkers and communities and schools that emphasized their Jewishness as an ethnic and national experience, a people, not just a religion or even primarily a religion. Being Jewish was who you were and what you did more than what you believed or what you chose not to eat. Left-wing Zionists, Jewish socialists and anarchists, the vibrant Jewish labor movement, they all worked for their vision of what they called a schöner und a bessere Welt, a better and more beautiful world. And they also worked to create and to pass on a vibrant Jewish identity built around Jewish culture, around the Jewish historical experience and their own present values. That grounding in secular Jewish possibility created a fertile soil for the birth of humanistic Judaism in the middle of the 20th century. The real revolution of humanistic Judaism was a crucial synthesis. It was the meeting point of a secular and cultural Jewish identity with the structure, the services, the benefits of a religious Jewish community. Think of it as new Sherwin wine in old congregational bottles. Is humanistic Judaism itself a religion? Well, I could ask you, do you consider yourself a religious person? Many of our members might not call themselves religious in that sense. Do you do things religiously? Well, maybe go to the gym. I don't know about my ritual practices necessarily. Once I received a survey and they asked me a whole series of political questions. It was around an election, and then they turned to demographic questions. And they asked, are you a member of a religious community? Yes, I am. How often do you attend services? All the time. Has the clergy at your place of worship talked about politics recently? And I had to think, did I? And then they asked, how often do you pray? Never. So we attend all the time, we don't pray. Well, what does it mean? Are we religious or not? Well, we might not do things religiously, but we do meet the needs that religion meets. Community and fellowship, inspiration and uplift, comfort through the challenges of life, a sense of meaning and purpose in what we do, the celebration, the inculcation, the transmission of values in the present and for the future, and celebrating special moments of the seasons and of the life cycle and of the community's life cycle, like tonight. The Society for Humanistic Judaism, our national network, started in 1969 with just 3 communities: the original Birmingham Temple in suburban Detroit, Congregation Beth Or in suburban Chicago, and the Connecticut Congregation for Humanistic Judaism in Fairfield County. Sherwin Wine and those early humanistic Jews did not invent secular Jewish community. They did not invent creative liturgy. They did not invent chutzpah to challenge convention. But they deployed those to create a new kind of Jewish community. There were 2 crucial innovations they did pioneer. First was they focused on their positive beliefs in humanism, in human dignity, in human freedom, and human responsibility for each other. And they included with that a desire for philosophical consistency. Early secularism in Jewish life was often no. We don't say this, we don't do that. You define yourselves by what you don't do and don't believe. Where a humanistic Jewish community focused on positive values, on positive resonance. And so if I eat foods that tradition told me not to eat, it's to celebrate world culture, it's to eat at my neighbor's home, it's to be a good citizen, or it may be my own set of dietary laws for health or for my ethical reasons, to be vegetarian, for example. We all make those choices. We all create in our own way. And in this case, we wanted to create in a positive way. The second thing we did in this pursuit of positive beliefs was find a different balance of continuity with the past and the integrity of living our values and beliefs. Where other approaches to Jewish life had kept traditional prayers but adapted what they meant in English, or put them in footnotes, or said them because they were old, we decided that while we value a connection to the past, we sing Hinei Ma Tov like others sing Hinei Ma Tov, originally from the book of Psalms. In other cases, we wanted to adapt things, to take that inheritance and make it speak with our values and words. So instead of singing Oseh Shalom, he will make peace, B'Mromav in his heights, we sing Na'aseh Shalom, we will make peace Ba'olam, in this world that we know and in which we live. So we found that balance of connection to the past, but also living our values with integrity. The second innovation is that we reclaimed religious Jewish life for secular Jews. Those early secular Jewish communities, and my mother's family were part of both the Sholem Aleichem Institute and the Workman's Circle, and so we had plenty of family members from that background. They didn't do Yom Kippur because that was too religious. They didn't have bar mitzvahs. Almost nobody had thought of a bat mitzvah back then because that was too religious. If you wanted that, hire a rabbi, go to a synagogue. That's not what we do as a secular Jewish community. That's a no. What Humanistic Judaism opened up was the possibility of saying yes. And maybe it took some shifting. So Yom Kippur required requesting forgiveness from others that you had wronged, as is the case across the Jewish world. But instead of looking above and beyond, we now look within. Can we find a way to forgive ourselves that takes what was a supernatural address and makes it natural and personal, emotional, and resonant? That's our Yom Kippur. The bar mitzvah, the bat mitzvah, or now the b mitzvah that we use as a gender-neutral term, that becomes a personal celebration for the mitzvah student, not assigned a Torah portion for the week, but able to choose perhaps a Torah reading or perhaps a modern topic, an issue that they feel connected to and that's relevant to them from out of the wide range of the Jewish experience. We reclaimed the word congregation. Congregation simply means getting together. In Hebrew, the term is a Beit Knesset, a house of meeting. It's not a Beit El, a house of God. It's not a Beit Tefillah, a house of prayer necessarily. It's a place of meeting and gathering. In some ways, a Beit Am, a house of the people. And we've even taken the word rabbi and shifted that meaning too. A rabbi now is not the judge who tells you what to do or what not to do. The rabbi is a teacher, a counselor, an expert in Jewish life, a community organizer. I can't tell you how many chairs I have moved in my career, and I am sure I will, and a source of inspiration. That's the modern rabbi, that's the humanistic rabbi. One more key step in the growth of our movement. The goal of humanistic Jewish education, both for children and for adults, was not just how to make more humanistic Jews, like Rabbi Cohen and myself, but also to make new humanistic leaders and rabbis. The International Institute for Secular Humanistic Judaism was founded in 1985, and it started its work in North America in 1987 with its leadership program. This community was one of the beneficiaries of that leadership program through the excellent leadership of Dr. Harold Launder for so many years as the madrich, as the leader of this community. And he got his start, so to speak, with his education through the International Institute. And some years later, in 1992, our rabbinic program was started. I completed that program in 2001, and Rabbi Cohen completed that program in 2024. This installation ceremony tonight is the culmination of many years of study and work by one person, but also many years of growth by this community and by our movement, by many decades of creativity by secular and cultural Jews in public and in private. Every Passover Seder where people make their own choices is one more expression of a cultural Jewish identity. And of course, many centuries of Jewish evolution and change. We are the heirs to all of it. We are all heirs, every one of us, to Jewish tradition and culture, and to humanistic Jewish creativity and integrity. What does it mean when you inherit, when you are an heir? You receive from the past. Imagine receiving your great aunt's attic. Some things in that space are beautiful and marvelous. You want to take them down and use them in your home right away. Other elements may be old and dusty, and maybe they don't speak to you, they don't resonate with you, they don't work in your home, but someone else in the family might want them. And maybe there's some other pieces up there that could work for you, but they need a new frame, a new decoration, a new memory book. It's all yours, that inheritance, that past. It's all part of your culture, your family, your legacy they've given to you. But it's still your home. It's still your life that you get to choose what speaks and resonates with you. This heritage as Jews and as humanistic Jews is all ours. And the question that we ask and that we as humanistic rabbis empower you to answer is, what will you do with your inheritance? And those choices will be the future of humanistic Judaism. Thank you very much.